For the past 4 months, my daughter has left me a voice message almost every night on a little yellow M&M recorder. It's a cheap plastic toy, about 8 inches tall, yellow body, white gloves, white shoes, the usual permanently worried expression. You press one eyebrow to record and the other to play the message back. The sound quality is awful, and everything comes through beneath a layer of static, as though the person speaking is calling from somewhere very far away. It can only store one short recording at a time. Whenever a new message is made, the previous one disappears. My daughter, Zelda, is 7. Her messages are usually the last thing I hear before going to bed. I work in investment banking, and my firm is currently advising on a merger that has swallowed most of my waking life. I cannot give details, even anonymously, but it's the kind of deal that produces 12-hour conference calls, emergency revisions at 9:30 p.m., and senior people suddenly deciding that a presentation everyone approved 3 days earlier needs to be rebuilt before the morning. For the last few months, I've been getting home between 10 and midnight, Monday through Thursday. My wife, Frances, handles the evenings when that happens. She picks Zelda up from school, makes dinner, checks her homework, and gets her into bed. By the time I arrive, the house is dark, and both of them are usually asleep. The yellow M&M waits for me on the kitchen counter. I press its right eyebrow, and Zelda tells me about her day. "Hi, Daddy. I got 9 out of 10 on my spelling test, but the one I got wrong was because Mrs. Jacobs didn't understand my E. Mom says you're not allowed to give me chocolate before school anymore. Today, I saw a dog that looked exactly like Grandma. Sometimes she sings. Sometimes she whispers because she's supposed to be sleeping. Once, she spent the entire recording describing a rock she had found near the school parking lot. I usually record something back. Nothing elaborate. I'm proud of you. Your E does look weird. And please don't tell Grandma about the dog." In the morning, my reply is gone. By the time I return from work, there's a new message waiting. It became one of those small, domestic routines that forms without anybody formally acknowledging it. The M&M was simply part of the kitchen now, standing between the microwave and the container where Frances keeps the coffee. I cannot tell you exactly when the messages began to change. The first one I remember was on a Tuesday. I arrived home at 11:17. Frances had left pasta in the refrigerator, and a note asking me not to wake her because she had an early meeting. The M&M stood beside the microwave. I loosened my tie, opened the refrigerator, and pressed play while looking for the pasta. Static crackled through the little speaker. Then Zelda's voice began. "Hi, Daddy. I finished my book today, and it was about a girl who finds a secret door. But Mom said I shouldn't tell you the ending because maybe you want to read it." She giggled. "Good night. I love you." There was a pause. Normally, the recorder made a teeny mechanical click as soon as the message ended. That night, it kept running. 4 seconds passed, maybe 5. Then Zelda whispered, "Don't play it again." The recorder clicked off. I stood there with one hand inside the refrigerator. It did not frighten me, not yet. Zelda had recently discovered that saying vaguely ominous things was an effective way to bother adults. A week earlier, she had looked at Frances during breakfast and said, "You shouldn't wear those shoes today." When Frances asked why, Zelda had shrugged and said, "You'll find out." Nothing happened. She had simply wanted to see whether her mother would change shoes. I assumed the message was another attempt at being creepy, so I pressed play again. "Hi, Daddy. I finished my book today. It was about a girl who finds a secret door. But Mom said I shouldn't tell you the ending, because maybe you'll want to read it. The giggle. Good night. I love you. Static. And then I said don't. Click. The message clicked off. I stared at the toy. The words had changed. I played the message a third time. This time, it immediately ended after I love you. No warning. No second sentence, just the click. I checked the back of the toy for a loose battery compartment. One corner was held together with clear tape, but nothing looked broken. I ate standing at the counter and took the M&M upstairs with me. Then I felt ridiculous, and I brought it back down. For the next 2 nights, the messages were normal. On Wednesday, Zelda told me about a drawing she had made at school. On Thursday, she sang most of You're Welcome from Moana, before Frances shouted from somewhere in the background that she needed to brush her teeth. Friday evening, I made it home before dinner. The yellow M&M was already on the counter, but I didn't touch it. There was no reason to. Zelda was awake, Frances was cooking, and for once, I could hear about their day without the help of a plastic piece of candy. We ate together. Zelda told me about a girl in her class who cried because somebody broke her pencil. Frances complained about a client who used the phrase circle back 11 times in one meeting. The M&M remained beside the microwave all evening. I noticed it several times. I cannot explain why. I never asked about the strange message. Maybe I didn't want to turn a harmless joke into a thing. Maybe some part of me already suspected that Zelda would not know what I was talking about. On Monday, I got home at 10:46 p.m. The downstairs lights were off, except for the one above the stove. The M&M was directly beneath it. I pressed play. Hi, Daddy. We went to Grandma's after school, and she gave me a bracelet, but Mom says I can't wear it to school because I'll lose it. Zelda lowered her voice conspiratorially. I won't lose it. Then louder. Good night. I love you. Static followed. A breath came through the speaker. It didn't sound like child breathing. It was too slow, too deliberate. Then Zelda's voice said, You keep making this take longer. I did not replay it. I set the toy down and checked the front door. Locked. The back door was locked too. I went upstairs and looked into Zelda's room. Her nightlight projected stars across the ceiling. She was asleep on her stomach, with one arm hanging over the side of the bed. Frances was awake in our room, scrolling through her phone. Did Zelda seem strange tonight? I asked. Frances looked up. Strange how? I don't know. She was trying to scare me about something. Not that I noticed. Frances, did you hear her recording tonight? Frances shook her head. No, I was cleaning up after dinner. She watched me for a moment. What happened? I almost told her. Instead, I said, nothing. I think she's playing a joke. Frances smiled. You're being psychologically defeated by a 7-year-old. That's exactly what I wanted to believe. The following night, Zelda's message was about the bracelet. She had lost it at school. Frances had been right, which Zelda seemed deeply offended by. Mom keeps saying she told me, she complained. She only said it like 100 times, so it doesn't count. Then, good night, Daddy. I love you. Static played. A different voice spoke. It was still Zelda's voice, but it sounded older. Not dramatically older. There was no movie monster growl or artificial distortion. It sounded like a girl, maybe 15 or 16. The same slight whistle on certain S sounds. The same rhythm, the same habit of dragging out the final word in a sentence. She still thinks I'm her. The recording ended. I played it again. Zelda complained about Francis. Zelda said goodnight. Then, the older voice repeated, she still thinks I'm her. I listened a third time. Same thing. And on the fourth replay, the sentence changed. She still thinks I'm Zelda. I dropped the toy. It struck the edge of the counter and landed on the floor. The impact triggered the playback button. Zelda's message began again from beneath the kitchen table. I crouched, but did not pick it up. Hi, Daddy. I lost my bracelet today. The yellow M&M lay on his back, smiling at the ceiling. Good night, Daddy. I love you. Static. Then the older voice whispered, only you can hear me. And I left it on the floor. The next morning, it was back on the kitchen counter. I asked Frances whether she had picked it up. She was packing Zelda's lunch. Picked what up? The thing that fell under the table. She glanced towards the counter. No, I didn't notice it. Zelda came into the kitchen, carrying one shoe. Frances immediately started asking where the other one was. The conversation moved on. I stood there, looking at the yellow M&M. Neither of them looked at all. That should have mattered more to me than it did. The messages continued. Each night, Zelda's normal recording played first. Then the other voice followed. And each time it sounded slightly older. 17, 25, maybe 30. I began recording them on my phone, but the extra voices never appeared in the videos. When I played the recordings back, I heard only Zelda's ordinary message, followed by static. One night, the older voice said, Frances can't hear me. The next, she doesn't know yet. Then the next night, you haven't told her. And that was true. I had not told Frances anything beyond the vague comment about Zelda trying to scare me. I knew how it would sound. My wife already thought I was exhausted. She had started asking me whether I could step away from the merger, as though I could simply tell the managing director that I was unavailable until two multinational companies finished rearranging themselves around each other. And I was sleeping 4 hours a night. I lived on coffee and whatever food Frances left in the refrigerator. I could hear the argument she would make before she made it. Stress, sleep deprivation, auditory hallucinations. She would not be wrong to consider any of those things. Then, on Thursday night, the toy recorded something that had not been there when I arrived. I got home at 11:38. There was no message waiting. I pressed play. Nothing. I pressed the play button again. The recorder made a faint mechanical click, but no audio came through. Relief washed over me. Then I noticed that the left eyebrow was pressed down. The record button. The M&M was recording. I moved my hand away. The button remained pressed for another second. Then it slowly rose on its own. I should have left the house. Instead, I pressed play. At first, there was only the sound of the kitchen, the refrigerator humming, a car passing outside, the soft ticking of the clock above the pantry. Then, footsteps. Small footsteps approaching the recorder. Zelda spoke. Hi, Daddy. She sounded very close. I don't want to do the messages anymore. The second voice answered from further away. The older Zelda voice. You don't have to. There was a pause. My daughter asked, Who are you? The recording ended. I ran upstairs so quickly that I slipped on the third step and struck my knee. Zelda was asleep. Frances woke when I entered the room. "What are you doing?" she asked. I turned on Zelda's lamp. My daughter squinted and pulled the blanket over her head. "Dad?" I wanted to ask her about the recording. I wanted to ask who she'd been talking to, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the way the voice had said, "You don't have to." Maybe I was afraid of what Zelda would say. Frances climbed out of bed. "Andrew, what's going on?" I heard something downstairs. "What?" "I don't know." She stared at me. "You ran in here like somebody was in the house." I thought someone was. Frances checked the hallway, then the windows. She looked under Zelda's bed, mostly to calm me down. There was nobody there. She led me out of the room and closed the door. "You need to sleep," she whispered. I heard Zelda talking. She talks in her sleep sometimes. She was talking to someone. "Andrew?" I heard another voice. Frances became very still. "What other voice?" I told her. Not everything. Not yet. Just that the recorder had captured Zelda speaking to someone who wasn't there. Frances came downstairs with me. The M&M sat on the counter. She looked at it with irritation more than fear. "Play it." So I pressed the eyebrow. "Hi, Daddy." Zelda's voice. "I don't want to do the messages anymore." Then silence. No answer. No question. The recording clicked off. I stared at Frances. "That's not the whole thing." She pressed play herself. "Hi, Daddy. I don't want to do the messages anymore." "That isn't what I heard." Frances replayed it. Same result. "You said there was another voice." "There was." And Zelda asked who it was? "Yes." Frances picked up the toy and inspected it. "How old is this thing?" "I don't know." "Could it be mixing recordings?" "It changes." "What changes?" "The voice on the recordings." I finally told her everything. The warning not to replay the message. The sentences about Frances. The voice growing older. The way it called itself Zelda. Frances listened without interrupting. When I finished, she set the M&M down very carefully. "Andrew," she said, "you need to stop listening to this. I'm not imagining it, and I'm not saying you are. You think I'm hallucinating. I think you've barely slept in 2 months. It knows that you can't hear it." Frances closed her eyes. "Listen to what you're saying. I know how it sounds. Then please, listen to yourself." I pressed play again. Zelda said she did not want to make the messages anymore. Nothing followed. Frances put both hands on the counter. "Tomorrow, you're calling your boss. Taking the day off, and you're sleeping." "I can't take tomorrow off." "Then call a doctor." "I'm going to destroy it." She looked relieved. "Fine." I carried the toy into the garage, placed it on the concrete floor. Frances followed me. I took a hammer from the workbench. The first strike cracked the M&M's plastic face. The second split its yellow body open. The third sent one white shoe skidding beneath Frances's car. The speaker produced a sharp burst of static. Then from inside the broken plastic, the older voice said, "Don't go check on Zelda." I froze. "What?" Frances asked. "You didn't hear that?" Her face changed. Not because she had heard it, but because she had not. "Hear what?" I dropped the hammer and ran. Through the kitchen, up the stairs, down the hallway. Zelda's room door was open. Her bed was empty. I shouted her name. Frances pushed past me and switched on the light. The blanket had been pulled back. The window was closed. The closet was empty. Then we heard Zelda laugh from our bedroom. We found her curled beneath the comforter on Frances's side of the bed. She must have woken up while we were downstairs and climbed into our room. I stood in the doorway, shaking. Zelda looked at me sleepily. "Daddy?" I went back to the garage. The broken M&M was silent. I put every piece I could find into a black garbage bag. I even crawled beneath Frances's car to retrieve the white shoe. Then I drove 15 minutes away and threw the bag into a dumpster behind a closed supermarket. I watched it disappear beneath cardboard and leaking trash bags. I did not sleep when I returned home. The next afternoon, I left the office at 4. I ignored 3 calls during the drive. For the first time in months, I arrived home with the sun up. Frances was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Zelda sat at the table, drawing a castle with purple towers. She looked up when I entered. "You're home." I hugged her longer than usual. Frances watched me over Zelda's shoulder, but she did not say anything. I sat beside my daughter and watched her color. My hands were sweating. I had spent the entire drive telling myself that I needed one simple confirmation, one ordinary explanation, a joke, a misunderstanding, anything. "Hey, Zell?" "Yeah? Can I ask you something?" She nodded without looking up. "Why did you say you didn't want to leave me any more messages?" Her crayon stopped. "What messages?" "The ones you leave when I work late." She looked at me. Frances stopped chopping vegetables. I swallowed. "On the little yellow M&M." Zelda frowned. "The what?" "The voice recorder," I said. "The yellow M&M on the kitchen counter." She stared at me blankly, and I could feel Frances looking at us. "You press one eyebrow to record," I continued. "You've been leaving me messages on it every night." Zelda's confusion deepened. "Dad, I don't know what you're talking about." Behind me, the knife made a soft sound as Frances set it down. "Andrew," she said. I turned. All the color had drained from her face. "What?" Frances looked towards the empty spot beside the microwave, then back at me. "You said Zelda was leaving those recordings?" My mouth went dry. Of course she was. Frances shook her head slowly. "I thought they were from you." I stared at her. "What?" "The toy," she said. "I thought you were recording messages for Zelda before you left in the mornings." "No." Her breathing became shallow. Neither of us moved. Zelda looked from Frances to me. And then she put down her purple crayon. "Mom?" Frances stepped away from the counter. Her eyes remained fixed on the place where the yellow M&M had stood every night for 4 months. Zelda's voice was very small when she asked, "What little M&M?"